Hey guys, MRG here with a pretty different video. I decided since I haven't made a video in a while, I'll talk about the new Yu-Gi-Oh! Speed Duel decks that came out about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. At least in the US it did. Anyway, there are two new decks that came out. They are called Duelists of Tomorrow and Destiny Masters. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Destiny Masters. And each of them come with three 20-card decks. And the reason why is because it's a new format they're introducing called Speed Duels. Each deck contains 20 to 30 cards, and your extra deck contains only 5 cards. And as you can see by the playmat, you only have 3 slots for each type of card. So it's basically like a physical version of the Duel Links. That's what they're going for. And instead of 8,000 life points, since the decks are cut in half, you only start with 4,000 life points. And the cards are classic cards. They're cards from back in the day, not like new current cards like Sky Strikers or Thunder Dragons or anything like that. No, you're going to see like Dark Magician, Blue Eyes, and Toon cards. And in total, there are 6 decks, 3 in each. Duelists of Tomorrow come with a Joey deck, a My Valentine deck, and a Kaiba deck. Pretty cool decks, if you ask me. I'm going to be ranking these in this video as well. And the Destiny Masters come with Yugi, Ishizu, and Maximilian Pegasus. Personally, one of my favorite villains in the series. And each will cost you about $10. Not each of these separate decks, but the 3 decks in one. So $20 for 6 decks. That's really good deal. And they come with a lot of good cards. And if you noticed, I did cut out a little notch right here because I keep my cards in the little sleeve. And there's a little deck list on the back as well. So, when you're dueling, you want to know what card's in there. If you forget, you have it right there next to you. And in this video, I'll be personally ranking all 6 of these from my least favorite to my personal favorite. Just let me get it fixed up real quick because I did make it out of order. Actually, she's my third. Okay. You're good. Boom. And I'll be going through the cards as well, of course. Obviously, like, why wouldn't I? Sorry for the background light. My blinds are open right now, and I don't want to close them because I just honestly kind of lazy. So the background's going to be a little blurry, but these are what the dual ments look like. Each one comes with 1. So I'd recommend picking up both, so if you want to play. And not fun fact, but honestly, if you're just starting out Yu-Gi-Oh! Or just wanting to start playing after a while, these are perfect. They're great for beginners just because they're not regular rules where you have 40-card decks. Doesn't matter because these are great. They come with a lot of good cards with simple effects, not the really complicated book-length effects like when this card is discarded, you could do this, and then you could do this in the graveyard once per turn. There's nothing like that in this deck. Well, there's a few cards like that, but not many. Pretty simple strategies. Just a really fun all-around decks that you get for your kid or your friend or something if you want to start dueling more. But yeah, let's get right into this, shall we? First up at number 6, and this is just kind of a personal thing for me, but number 6 is Maximilian Pegasus. I wanted to like this deck, but the reason why I do not like this deck is, well, I'll just get into it in a second because I do want to talk about a new mechanic in this. In this, you get skill cards, which are a dark blue color and usually have this background. So that's how you could determine it. Each of them have a little thing right here where it says you can activate it. Like, for example, usually it's flip this card over when you activate the effect. Or this, which is at the start of the duel, flip this card over and use it. So each person comes with 3 skill cards, which is pretty awesome. So in total, you get like 18 skill cards, and you could customize these decks if you want, which another mechanic we'll get into in a minute. But this one comes with, it's a Toon World, which is basically just a free Toon World. Mind Scan, which is a very good card. At the start of the 3rd turn, if your life points are 3,000 or higher, which I would doubt it would be that high, activate the skill card count both players' turns. Basically, that means your turn is 1, that's 2, this is 3. You know? You may look at your opponent's spell trap cards at any time. If your life points drop to below 3,000, this card's not usable. And this one's amazing. Millennium Eye. I kind of got mixed up. I thought Mind Skin was Millennium Eye for a second. This one, you use at the start of the duel, and you get to look at your opponent's first starting hand and decide if you want to shuffle that hand back into the deck. That's a pretty good card. But that's not why I think this deck sucks. It mostly has to do with Toon World itself. In this deck, there are 2 other Toon World cards, and in the game, in this format, you only have 4,000 life points. So when you activate it, you basically pay a quarter of your life points just to activate Toon World, and you need Toon World in this deck to do basically anything. So as for the cards, you got yourself a copy of Rogue Doll, which is just a pretty basic card. 2 copies of Toon Alligator, which are amazing for just defense. Parrot Dragon, which is a classic design in my opinion. Dark Rabbit. 2 Toon Mask Sorcerers, which are pretty good cards that could attack your opponent directly. But this is where I want to talk about what I want to talk about. Sorry, I keep stuttering, I know. These cards can't attack your opponent the turn they're summoned, even with Toon World on the field. And if Toon World is destroyed, they're discarded. I don't like that. I seriously don't like that. That is a stupid mechanic for Toon cards. I understand they could attack directly, but why do you still have to wait a fucking turn? You could remove the attack directly effects so these cards can be used. Anyway, Toon Mask Sorcerer, 2 of them. Pretty cool. Toon Mermaid, which is one of my pretty cool design. Toon Summon Skull, which is the best card in this deck. And actually, this is probably the best card in this deck. Relinquish, monster-wise. This is really the only card you should try getting on the field. Seriously. It's the only card that can attack the turn it's summoned. You can get an opponent's monster and equip it to this and have life points. It's a really awesome effect, as you can see. Just pause it to read the effects. I'm not going to do that because that'll just make this video go on for like 40 minutes, and I don't want to sit through that. Relinquish is, like, again, best card in this deck, easily. Mimicat, which is another thing. Each of these decks come with 3 special promo cards, and I have put the promo cards in each of their respective decks. For Maximilian Pegasus, it's Mimicat. And just to make things simple, I'm just going to call him Pegasus because that's what people call him in the anime, so we'll call him Pegasus for now on. Dark Illusion Ritual, which is to summon Relinquished. Toon Table Contents, which is a fantastic card to have in this deck. Very popular card to have in Exodia decks and Toon decks, respectively. Toon Rollback, which is an amazing card if you could get wait a turn for a Toon card. 2 Toon Worlds, because, you know, why the hell not? A Yami, which is a really useful card. Deep Sea, Sword of the Deep-Seated, which I haven't used in so long. Pretty good card, but I really don't like the effect about how it's placed on the top of the deck when it's sent to the graveyard. The reason why is because that just makes it so you draw this card again and you don't get anything else. Toon Defense, which is pretty helpful. Jar Greed, which is amazing. And Wild Tornado. So, between just not being able to attack the turn you summon those Toon cards and Toon World basically making you pay a quarter of your life points in this format, it's just not a useful deck in my opinion. Relinquished is my favorite card. I don't think you have to pay the life points if you use It's a Toon World, but really, compared to the other 2 effects in this deck, It's a Toon World sucks. And, and the mechanic I want to talk about. As you can see, there is a watermark on the bottom of the card right here, Speed Duel. In Speed Duels, you can only use cards with this watermark. You can't use any cards if it doesn't. You have to have this watermark to use it in a Speed Duel. Alright? All cards have it. It's very hard to see, but all cards should. Yeah, you can faintly see it here on Dark Rabbit. It's easier to see on this since it's darker. Here, spill card, maybe that should. Yeah. It's there, trust me. However, though, you can use Speed Duel cards in any other deck, in any other format. You just can't use cards from other formats in Speed Duel decks. So, kind of a fun little gimmick, and maybe if I get used to Pegasus, I'll like him more, like the deck more. But for now, oh my god, really? Okay, sorry. I'm just gonna keep that for now. I'm not gonna struggle with that. But for now, let's just move on. My 5th rank is Kaiba. I wanted to love this deck. Kaiba is like my favorite character from the anime, but I have my reasons why he's my 5th rank. His effects are really decent. Peak Performance is probably my favorite one because it's just 200 attack, and in this format with 4,000 life points, that's pretty good because that makes a lot of the monsters in this deck over 2,000. Beatdown is a pretty gimmicky card, pretty useful card, but honestly just not really worth it. I'd rather go with Peak Performance. Dragon Caller is another good card if you have Lord of D, which Lord of D and Fluid Summoning Dragons is in this deck. So a pretty fun card to have. Blue Eyes White Dragon. Obviously, you need to have a card like this in a blue white in a Kaiba deck. 2 Battle Ox, which are good cards. 2 Ryu Kishins. A Luster Dragon number 2. 2 Lord of D's. And I always laugh when I say that name. I'm sorry, but Lord of D really... Sorry, Twin-Headed Dragon, which is a nice card. Tyrant's Dragon, which is probably the best card in this deck, in my opinion. Spirit Ryu. Kaiba Man, which is a good reprint. Fluid Summoning Dragons, which I haven't seen. I have a side story about this. The first time I've ever seen Yu-Gi-Oh! Was one day when my brothers got some decks, like the classic original decks, and the first card I held was this card, and the first time I played it, I bent the card. When I played it, I went like this, and I bent the card. Yeah. We had to get a new deck to replace it. Cost Down and Stamping Destruction, sorry. Burst Chamber Destruction, amazing card. Mountain, which kind of makes Peak Performance a little useless, so if you don't want that, use this, because this is Mountain Peak Performance. The set's on the field zone. So I would recommend the other two if you don't want to risk just drawing a dead card. Champion's Vigilance, which is the promo card for this deck. Very good card. My favorite card in this deck, in my opinion. Interdimensional Matter Transporter. Very excellent card. Dragon's Rebirth, which I haven't seen in a long time. I used to play this card a lot. And Trap Jammer. So all around a pretty good deck. Reason why it is ranked low, though, is because I just think the other decks are better. I really do. This deck is mostly just for power, to get your strong monsters on the field and do a lot of damage, which is fine. That's a good strategy in this kind of format. But I feel like the other decks just have better cards. And of course, the cards went in that sleeve. Screw you, Rugdoll. Number 4 is Ishizu. I'm trying to think, actually. I might re-rank this right in video. To be honest, 4 and 3 are interchangeable. They really are. I'll get to that in a minute. So Ishizu was in the Dice City, I think that's the city's name, tournament arc on the blimp. There's a funny Abridged series episode where Kaiba was dueling her, and she played a card of Exchange of Spirit. He's like, exchange of what now? Exchange of Spirit changes the cards from your deck to the graveyard, swaps your graveyard with your deck in that anime episode, at least. In that Abridged series, at least. And she's like, only leaving you with 6. And Kaiba's just like, and then just went on to something else with Mokuba, and Mokuba was like, Mokuba away! And then my favorite part from that part, besides the long-winded the F word, Mokuba showed up, and then he said something about the Mokuba reveal, and Yugi was like, I wonder how milkshakes are made. There's no Mokuba reveal. And then it's like, oh, Mokuba, I'm glad you're here. What do I do? Kick her in the nuts. She doesn't have those things. Well, I'm out of ideas. Thanks, Mokuba. Thanks for being a big help. No problem, brother. And then Mokuba just goes off, and I think that's when he said, Mokuba away. There's no Mokuba mobile. Sorry to go on that little rant, but that episode I loved it. I love watching abridged episodes of shows, like just fan dubbings. It's hilarious. Anyway, as you can tell, this is a Gravekeeper's deck. We first got Gravekeeper's Lot, which I never really used. I don't even know what it does. What does it do? I didn't use this one, so sorry. Okay, so you had to lose 1,800 in one turn to use it, but that's a good effect. There's a lot of good cards in this deck that it can be used for. Millennium Necklace, which is the one I personally used. Very good card. Very good effect. And then Prescience. Pretty good card, but Millennium Necklace is my personal favorite. Like, seriously, the ability to rearrange your opponent's deck. My brother, when we dueled, used this effect and thought that since I was using another deck, he gave me a card I actually needed on accident because he didn't think I could have used it. So I won. But he still won the duel, but that's just because of a funny thing that happened. I'll tell you guys that later, though. Gravekeeper's Curse, which inflicts damage when it's summoned. Pretty good card. 2 Spear Soldiers. A Vessel, which I hate. That's what he beat me with. Gravekeeper's Chief. Cannon Holder. I'm just going to ignore the Gravekeeper part, because it's not really needed. 2 Assailants, 2 Assailants. 2 Priestesses, which, that reminds me of something I should show you guys in a second. Recruiter. A Shaman. An Oracle, which is an amazing card. I love this card. Cat of Ill Omen. Gravekeeper's Fleet. Hidden Temples of Necro Valley. Sebek's Blessing, which is an amazing card. Golden Apples, which is the special card for this deck. Blast Hailed in a Tribute by a Tribute. Oh god. Rite of Spirit. And Eye of Truth, which is kind of a mediocre card if you ask me. I don't like it. It's too dangerous. And that thing I want to show you guys. As you can see on each cover, there's a different monster with the main character. So Summon Skull, or a Toon Summon Skull, Blue Eyes, and for Shizu, it's Priestess. So all around a pretty good deck. I think the main strategy of this deck is trying to get your life points to say high with Sebek's Blessing, and then burning your opponent with Curse and Vessel. But I don't like this. The one reason why this deck is ranked at 4 is because it is missing Necro Valley. Why is it missing Necro Valley? It's a Gravekeeper's deck. And yes, Priestess Effect makes her Necro Valley, but that's not going to help much. Maybe it's because Necro Valley is kind of OP. It does make it so your Gravekeeper monsters gain 500 attack, so maybe that was the reason behind it, but still. Priestess acts as Necro Valley and increases life point, the attack power and defense power of monsters by 200. Number 3 is May Valentine's deck. I'm just saying this right now. Aroma Strategy is a good card. I mean, seriously, the ability to look at the top card of your deck anytime is amazing. She also has another great card called Tribal Synergy, which is just it's draw power. You could draw a card or up to 2 cards with it. It's amazing, and you can use each of these skills once, so you can use both in one duel. Flight of the Harpies, which I haven't really used. So yeah, pretty good. Harpy Larders. What the frick? Harpy Lady 1, 2, and 3. Great trio. Harpy Lady Sisters, obviously. Gotta have a Harpy Lady Sisters and a Harpy deck. And yeah, this deck is a 2 for 1. Amazonis. Chainmaster. Swordswoman. Sage. 2 Birdface, which is a good card. Because of the effect, you could actually attack into an opponent's monster, get this card discarded, and then use its effect. Here's its effect. And Sonic Shooter. This is the special card for this deck. Amazonis Village, which is a pretty good card. 2 Elegant Egotists. Triangle Ecstasy Spark. Cyber Shield, which is probably one of the most broken cards in this deck. Harpy's Hunting Ground, which is another broken card in this deck. Amazonis Heirloom. Amazonis Archers. Windstorm of Edequa. Sorry. Shadow Eyes, which is a classic card from the anime. And another Wind Tornado. Wild Tornado, sorry. Wind Tornado. That's kind of dumb, if you ask me, if the card is called Wind Tornado, because Tornado is already made of wind. I mean, seriously, what else could it be made of? Freaking shit? I don't know. I know this video's gone on for a long time, but hey, if I sat here and read all those effects out loud, it would just been probably 10 more minutes at this point. Number 2 is Yugi's. This card is yummy. This card is pretty good. His next card is the one that where it's at though. Like, oh my god. So pretty good card, but nothing beats Final Draw. You activate this card, set it face up, and then every turn you can add a counter to it. Once it has 3 more, you could use its effect, search your deck for any card you want, but if you don't win that duel, that turn, you lose automatically. You lose at the end of the turn. So it's kind of a last-ditch effort, which I did use successfully. And the reason why this is my second favorite is just because the cards in it are really good. Dark Magician, amazing card. Feral Imp, not really good. 2 Rogue Dolls, which, eh. Dark Magician Girl, which is one of the best cards in this deck. 2 Legion of the Fiend Jesters, which is amazing. Stern Mystic, here's Legion's effect, by the way. This card is a great search engine, and there's some good strategies you can use with it. So when it's sent to the graveyard, you can use it to add a spellcaster from your deck to your hand. A Stern Mystic, which is pretty useful. Double Custom, which is another great card. Blue Dragon Summoner, which I like. Shard of Greed, which is a special card. Very good card. Thousand Knives, amazing. Sage of Stone, which Dark Magician Girl, if you have it on the field, this is an amazing card. Definitely try getting Dark Magician Girl on the field and summon this, use this to summon Dark Magician. Dark Magic Attack. Ryuku, which is amazing. Ryuku, sorry. Tribute Doll, which I don't really like, to be honest. Kind of useless. Wonder Wand, which is the card that I would recommend equipping to Legion, and then using its effect to draw a card, and when Legion is sent to the graveyard, you can use his effect to add a spellcaster to your hand. So you basically use 2 cards to get 2 cards. It's a great strategy. Light Force Sword, which is a very useful card in this format. Magician Circle, which is another amazing card in this format. And really good defense against back row. Magic Jammer and 7 Tools of the Bandit. Yes, you do have to pay a quarter of your life points to use this card, but it's still very helpful. Especially if you fight Kaiba and he has Champion's Vigilance. Just saying. And these are both counter traps too. And Magic Jammer. Spell card. Defense. Like, wow. Great defense, Stevie. Great defense. I love that for that reason. So, very good deck indeed. You could just easily open up your opponent's field and attack for game. Like, just wow. But still doesn't compare to my personal favorite of the bunch, and that is Joey's deck. Joey's deck is fun. First up, you got Grit, which could be extremely helpful. It's just really fun. The idea of basically surviving with 1 attack, 1 life point, and that's never happened in a game before. So Grit is, I think, the only time in the whole lifespan of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you could survive with 1 life point. Very fun card. Last Gamble, which I'll get into in a second. And Palomization, which is, as you can see, very useful for this deck. Basically, it lets you substitute any normal monster as a material for a fusion summon. So, very helpful card. But Last Gamble. This card is fun. I love this card. Basically, at the start of the 5th turn, you can activate the skill, and then on your main phase, you can reduce your life points to 100, discard 2 cards, and then roll a dice to draw cards. So, the reason why I love this card is because it's such a luck-based card. For example, that was a bad roll. Let me do that again. It's not... Okay, I hate that dice because it's not... Its edges aren't rounded, so it doesn't roll. 4 cards right there. When I first used this, I got 5, so I was able to make a profit of 3 cards, and I still lost that round because my brother used the Shizu deck, so he burned me for damage because he got lucky with 1 card. And I was just unable to do anything about it, which kind of sucked if you ask me, but whatever. I still love this card. It's an amazing card. You got 3 fusions, which is the only deck here that has a fusion card. Flame Swordsman, which is great. Thousand Dragon, which is amazing. And Alligator Sword Dragon, which is a very useful card as long as your opponent controls Earth, Water, and a Fire Monster, or a Fire Monster, because you could attack your opponent directly with it. Oh my god, I'm sorry. That was just a totally random sneeze. It just... So 3 great cards. Red Eyes Black Dragon, classic. Meteor Dragon, Flaming Up Later and Michiku the Legendary Swordsman, which could make the Flame Swordsman. Alligator Sword and Baby Dragon, which make Alligator Sword Dragon. And Baby Dragon and Time Wizard make 1,000-Year Dragon. Little Wing Guard, which is a pretty defensive monster. Copycat, which is another great card. Gilfried the Iron Knight, which is awesome. Fusion Gate, which is the special card of this deck. Personally not that useful compared to the fact that you have 2 polymerizations. 2 of them. I love this deck for this. I love it. Not because of just Last Gamble, but you have 2 polymerizations, so you can make 2 of these awesome fusions. On top of that, it has a lot of great equipped cards. You got Stray Lands. Hold on a second. No, there's these. Sorry. Which is another great card. Legendary Sword, which is a pretty powerful card, especially with Flame Swordsman. Sogen, which is another amazing card for Flame Swordsman. Dice Foon, which is a bit gimmicky. Not one of my favorite cards in this deck, but it still adds to the gamble side of things. Graceful Dice, which is fantastic. Easily my favorite spell card of this deck. If you get a high enough roll, that is. But it's still amazing just to get some extra power. Skull Dice, which is pretty good. Skull Dice combined with Graceful Dice, it's OP. You could reduce your opponent's life points and you could gain life points. It's awesome. Kunai with Chain, which is a classic. And Red Eye Spirit, which can get your red eyes back from your graveyard. So I think a good strategy is you can use Palomization to make red eyes one of the materials. Use them in a fusion summon. And then have this card set from a turn or 2 before to summon red eyes back to the field. You have 2 powerful monsters right there ready to attack. That is a strategy that I just thought about, to be honest. I love this deck because it has some great fusion monsters for this format. Yes, I know they're not like the really amazing fusion monsters you get in advanced formats, but in this format they're great. Mine with some amazing strategies you could do, and I just like the gambling part of it. But seriously, this dice sucks. I'm throwing this one away. Actually, no, I'm not. This goes to another game. Never mind. Oh god, I think I have a cold. My nose just got super runny. Fuck. I'm sorry. Well, guys, with that is my ranking of all 6 of these really awesome decks. So, if you're new to the series, or just want to, or haven't played in a while, screw you, Rogue Doll, I'd recommend picking these up. I mean, 3 decks for $10 is an amazing deal. I mean, sure, they're 20-card decks, but whatever. That's still an amazing deal. You could use these great cards for any deck you want, really. Not just for speed dueling decks. You just can't use other cards in speed duel decks. For example, this is the Zombie Horde deck. I can't add Goblin Zombie or Zombie Power Struggle to one of these decks because it doesn't have a little watermark. So, yeah. And I just want to show you something kind of cool. A little off topic, but still Yu-Gi-Oh related. Look at all my tokens. Kind of funny. So yeah. That's that. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know when it dragged on a little bit, but again, if I read every single card effect in these decks, this video would have been probably another 15 minutes longer. I'm a slow reader. Especially reading out loud. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I had fun making it. And again, sorry for the background light. I was too lazy to get up and open the, or close the blinds. But for $10, definitely pick this up. I'd recommend it. And Rogue Doll, I hate you. I'm gonna make that a reference in the thumbnail somehow. Alright, peace out, guys. Hope you enjoy, and let me know which one of these decks is your personal favorite. And maybe I could do like a separate video or each where I go over a strategy. Let me know if you want to see that, because I wouldn't mind actually making a separate video for each of these. Just in one video would have taken way too long. Okay, so I hope you understand that, and honestly, I might do that. I might do the strategy thing that I talked about. That's actually a fun idea. But anyway, peace out.